Isopods are known by a variety of terms: woodlice, sow bugs, potato bugs, and roly-polies. But these organisms aren't bugs at all. Isopods are arthropods in the subphylum Crustacea. This means that isopods have more in common with shrimp, crab, and lobsters than they do with insects. Isopods evolved from sea creatures 360 million years ago during the Paleozoic era. Eventually, some types of isopods left the sea to colonize the land. The land offered new and different food sources, less competition from fellow organisms, and less predation than in the water. Today, there are over 10,000 species of isopods in the world that occupy all different environments from deep in the ocean to the desert. Today, you will be learning about how isopods evolved from water-dwelling creatures to being able to survive in some of the driest conditions imaginable. Many isopod species started as deep-sea creatures, such as the giant ocean isopod Bathynomus giganteus. They are almost a foot long and resemble crustaceans like crabs and lobsters. Giant ocean isopods are found in the West Atlantic. One adaptation that giant ocean isopods have evolved to help them better survive is the addition of a brood pouch. Eggs are stored here until the young are ready to emerge as miniatures of the adults. These are known as manca. They completely bypass the larval stage. This gives young isopods a better chance at survival. All isopods, both aquatic and terrestrial, have brood pouches. Deep-sea isopods eventually evolved to survive in shallower waters. It is believed that terrestrial isopods evolved from creatures similar to Baltic isopods, Idiotea baltica. They are found in the bottoms of shallow coastal waters in Europe. Baltic isopods are smaller than deep ocean isopods because ocean isopods experience deep-sea gigantism. This is a phenomenon where organisms that are living in deep, cold water tend to grow bigger and have longer life cycles. Being smaller helps Baltic isopods colonize shallower waters because they are able to exist in warmer temperatures, and they do not have to swim around large areas to find food. Isopods also began colonizing freshwater areas. One group of note are isopods in the genus Acellus. These isopods have evolved to have a potent antifreeze-like chemical in their bodies that allow them to survive temperatures as low as -22 Fahrenheit. Acellus isopods can even be found in the tundra ponds of Alaska. Isopods evolved from being totally aquatic to semi-terrestrial. A good example of this transition are sea slaters. Sea slaters have gills just like their aquatic ancestors, but they like to crawl around on land. To compensate, they live on rocks in tidal splash zones where seawater sprays over them. However, they are never fully immersed in water. Sea slaters need more oxygen than a full water environment can provide. The next evolutionary step up from sea slaters would be roly-polies, terrestrial isopods. This group encompasses the isopods you are going to learn about in class, Armadillidium vulgare. Roly-polies are still crustaceans. This means they still have gills. However, these gills are slightly different than the gills of their aquatic relatives. The folds on the surface of the first two pairs of gills have evolved into hollow tubes. These tubes allow terrestrial isopods to breathe air. Isopods still need to live in damp environments and prefer huddling together under logs and leaf litter, trying to conserve moisture. Isopods also like to hide from the hot, drying sun and come out at night when the air is cooler and more humid. Another adaptation that keeps terrestrial isopods from drying out is their ability to roll into balls. Roly-polies will roll into balls if attacked by a predator, but they are also known to do this in order to keep moisture in around their gills. Roly-polies also do not urinate. In order to conserve as much water as possible, roly-polies instead will pass ammonia gas through their exoskeletons instead of excreting it through urine. Finally, isopods have also conquered the most unlikely of places, the desert. Have you ever heard of a crustacean that lives in the desert? Hemilepistis remorii is an isopod that lives in the deserts of North Africa and the Middle East. They dig tunnels in the sand to try to keep themselves away from the scorching heat in some of the driest environments known to man. Researchers are still discovering what allows desert isopods to survive in these harsh environments. One breakthrough has been the discovery that the composition of phosphorus and calcium are slightly different in desert isopod exoskeletons than in other terrestrial isopods. This creates an exoskeleton that is stronger and less permeable, protecting desert isopods from losing water and drying out. Desert isopods also have longer legs than other terrestrial isopods. This helps keep the isopod's gills farther away from the hot, dry sand. Isopods are amazing organisms that have conquered many different environments through evolutionary adaptations. This video illustrated how isopods move from the sea and Arctic waters to beaches, to forests, and to deserts. Now that you've learned about the different environments isopods have populated, which terrain do you think your isopods will run the fastest on? Sand, ice, water, or soil?